I was a commission salesman, and January 1st, like particularly I had like record setting for our office sales year. And then, bonuses, bonus, all that. And then January 1st, I was back to zero.
We want to try to fix it right so that the work orders stop. There's the problem, there's the actual problem, and then there's the symptom. And if you just keep putting Band-Aids on the symptom, the problem never goes away, it just continues. All right, we wanted to start this podcast off by explaining why it exists.
Yes, we think that there's so much to know in property management, and there's so many ways it's being done. Obviously, there's the laws and policies you have to follow, but there's part of it's logic, part of it's art, and part of it is just firefighting.
So we wanted to bring you along with our journey. We're going to bring people on the show. Episode 1, we're excited, finally got it.
Yeah, and there's only up from here.
So you want to bring some people within the industry on here and talk and help out other property managements. I think our mission really is to elevate the property management market.
Yes, no, that's been our goals. That's how we met, because you had worked for that property management company, and I had worked with many, tried to sell properties, tried to remodel homes, and there was just no way I was going to trust my properties with what I was seeing out there. So even property owners, this show is for property owners as well. Maybe there's a couple things they can pick up, a couple ideas. The goal is that we're just bringing it all on the table to improve ourselves, improve the investment, help tenants' lives get improved, and of course, make owning real estate as worry-free as we can.
One of the biggest words for me is expectation. And I think we go through a lot of relationships and we go through a lot of transactions without setting that clear expectation. So one of the insights we're going to cover is basically what property owners should be asking property management companies when they hire them, and making sure they're covering all the right bases to protect them and protect their properties. And hopefully we can touch on the property manager side, and there's property managers listening that can use this for their team and their company to better themselves.
100%. I think about when we started and we'd have a new owner sign a 1.5-page contract, we'd throw them in the system, and we'd be managing right there. Basically, we'd negotiate the percentage, and that was it. Nothing else was brought up, talked about. They were ready to go. We took our pictures, and then chaos ensued. To now it takes me 3 times with an owner before we even put them in our system. They know what's going on.
We found that the onboarding process is super important, not only for the owners, but the tenant-facing side as well.
100%.
And starting off, it felt like we chewed on glass for a couple of years there.
I can't say that. No, it's always evolving. So, but yes, setting that expectation with the tenants from the time you hand them the key, even before then, to owner onboarding, to even now our vendors, making sure that they know what we expect and having it in writing, have it signed off so that all parties agree. So
the owners usually only hear from property management when something breaks, something costs more than inspected, something goes wrong. And I think a lot of property managers get in this reactive stage where they're actually put into that position. And we are trying to put in systems where we can be proactive and actually give them some good news so they don't have to cringe every time the legacy number's on the caller ID.
So that happens a lot. As an owner myself, even when I see one of our maintenance techs calling, oh Lord, please don't be mine. But at the same time, this is just part of it. Got to take care of it.
And some of the charges on the owner agreement, some of the charges during the month, a lot of the stress for the owner comes from not understanding why.
100%. I'm actually considering highlighting every fee so they know which ones are normal and which ones are limits, meaning it's a cutoff. We don't actually charge let's take an easy one, insurance claims. We just have a flat fee one time because, last time I took care of a hail claim, it took 9 months to get the adjuster. They flew him in from a different state. She couldn't make it up the ladder to the 3rd story to even look at the roof. If I had charged hourly, it would have tacked on another $1,000 to that total, but instead we just have a flat rate. So it's just covering those for the owners. But I was thinking about highlighting them even just to be normal, there, never charged, but just in case.
Yes. And some of the properties are customizable, or you have to customize that agreement a little bit. It's not a one standard fits all. So it's really diving into what is the expectation of the owner and what are their goals.
Yep.
And do you remember any previous ones that really didn't align with us and what kind of chaos that caused? So we really need to make sure that they have the same goals as us and they want to go the same direction as us.
There's a difference between wanting to just have an investment versus trying to improve your investment. So we're not a Band-Aid company. We don't believe in them. That's a real easy trap to get caught in, where as management, we can keep Band-Aiding, keep fixing the same problem over and over, and that makes us money, but that's bad for the tenant, that's bad for the owner, and really, we don't want to keep sending our guy back because he could be making us money elsewhere. So we're not a Band-Aid company. We want to fix it and fix it right so that our guys can be doing the things like unit turns or whatever that take more time, not same leaky faucet multiple times.
One of the things to piggyback off of that is, have you ever done anything that was cheap that you didn't have to redo? So cheap isn't cheaper, right? So it's like we want to try to fix it right so that the work orders stop. There's the problem, there's the actual problem, and then there's the symptom. If you just keep putting Band-Aids on the symptom, the problem never goes away. It just continues.
100%.
So having that proactive approach towards maintenance as well, try to keep those bills down.
Well, and there's just no shortcuts. It's no matter what you're going to pay for it. It's kind of what I'm working with a homeowner, and instead of replacing the countertops, they just paint them, and then they start to peel. And it's like, well, it was cheaper to paint them. Well, now you got to replace it because the surface is ruined forever. That's just, what are you going to pay for it now when the prices are up, or 5 years ago when you decided to roll a brush instead of get it when it was pre-COVID pricing?
This show is really going to bring all those out into the open. So we're really going to take a deep dive into some of these a little bit more. We're just giving you guys some example of what's going to come in the future. And we're going to peel behind the scenes basically and talk like we're talking to owners and help them out and give them tips so that they can make the right decision on hiring a proper property management company.
And even if you're managing your own, our goal is just to give you tips and things that we're learning at scale. The problems that we had when we had 18 units is a lot different when we have over 200 and growing. So we want to bring value to just the people doing it themselves, whether it's a furnished rental or a standard long-term, and may even touch on vacation rentals, but each their own.
A lot to cover, so definitely follow us, subscribe if you haven't yet. We're excited to do this. We're going to do weekly, and we will get more stuff out. We'll also have guests on the show. I know we have a couple of investor bankers we want to get on. We have some insurance agents.
Yep.
We have...
there's a lot. We're going to have even hopefully some of our, trying to think of the phrase here, but people who are watching, let's say, government affairs and different things, because part of what we do that people see is the day-to-day answering phones, moving tenants in and out, repairing. But another thing that we're doing is the whole advocacy side, fighting for private property rights, fighting for tenant rights, and helping decide where the line should stop and where the owner should have final say. So we're going to cover a lot of topics on this show, but like I said, the goal is to bring value, show what's happening with us, and hopefully make it fun.
Right. So I'm glad you brought up the tenants because we're gonna more focus on elevating the owner. But really, this business has two clients, and I think that's what's very complicated for most people. It's not just running a business; it's very complex. Everything that happens, to have proper communications, not only do you have to communicate with the owner, but you also have to communicate with the tenant. And when we talk about the onboarding process, there's that tenant onboarding process that also needs to take place because essentially we're dating them, as you would say.
Yeah, that's the easiest way to tell people, hey, this is a 1-year lease. We are dating this person for a year. So we want to make sure they're people we want to hang out with to keep it simple. It's not quite like that, but that's really it. Are we even filling the units with people that we want to help?
Just like you would onboard a employee, you need to onboard a tenant, just so they might have came from a different company and they were playing checkers or chess and we're playing Monopoly or whatever. So we have to show them our rules, our stuff. So we want to make sure that they have a good experience with us. Yep. I know I follow a lot of those Facebook groups, and the property managers really have a bad taste. And I want to say they're using security deposits as revenue, but either or. So we like to try to do that proper, and it's really tough sometimes for the tenants when they come in because they do have their sword out and they're ready to fight. for the right to party, but we're not trying to play that party. So we also care about the tenants. We have a resident benefit package. So we'll dive into some of that and some of the benefits that help that, and the owner facing side on that. I know a little bit more about the owner side on that one.
Definitely. That will be a fun episode.
Awesome. So we just wanted to give you guys what's coming up and what we're going to work on. We hope to add a lot of value. And if there's ever anything in the show or the comment, you guys have a topic you want to talk about, we'd love to talk about it and address it for you. And let's dive into how Legacy was born, maybe some of our values, why our purpose and stuff like that. Oh, I know Bill's been in the property management game a little longer than me. I grew up with some maintenance and construction background. I will bring that up in a minute, but let's start with you, Bill, on why let's just hear your story about how you even got into, you're a realtor, and you're on the realtor board, all the accolades, but let's just talk in why Bill Dean all of a sudden got into real estate.
Well, I had a problem. I was a commission salesman, and January 1st, particularly I had record setting for our office sales year. And then, bonus, all that. And then January 1st, I was back to zero. Great. So I put crazy amount of time and hours in, and I made good money. But if I want to make more money, I have to work even more. And if I work less, then I'll make less. So I just knew this money equation wasn't working out. A client of mine who I did not sell, but he sold me on reading the book Rich Dad Poor Dad. And honestly, if you've never read it, every investor should read that, because it's not so much a tactical book, but it changes how you think about money. And I read that and I was like, boom, this is what I want to do. I had that vision other than sitting on the beach sipping a margarita. So I read that book, and then that got me all fired up about, we'll call it passive income. Property is not the passive side of that, but for the owner, it can be. Once I got started into it, is I wanted to have money coming in. I wanted my money working harder than I was working for it, so that when January 1st came around, I already had money coming in.
And you are an owner. So what made you buy your first property? This was the background to that?
Yeah. Yep. So oil boom at that time. So the housing prices were going up 20, 25, 30%. And I looked for 9 months, tons of houses, and actually got lucky. An older gentleman saw me at a home show. I was working our booth, and he came in and, back in my day, I wish I would have done this and that and bought this, and now I've only got 2 duplexes left. I'm ready to sell one. Oh, really? So I ended up checking it out, and it was disgusting. I mean, there was cigarette burns in the carpet. They're using throwing stars and knives and sticking them into the paneled walls. There were no showers in it. It was disgusting. But you got me started.
What made you choose investing in real estate?
I was already a general contractor at that time as far as sales go. So I was designing kitchens, roofs, windows. So I had this whole network of contractors who knew how to fix anything, really. So I knew I could repair it. And I just wanted someone else to pay my mortgage, I guess is the simplest way of putting it. So, a deal where my first mortgage was $716, and I rented to a buddy for $750. So I basically lived for free. I paid the utilities and internet, and that got me started. I actually set aside all the rent money, and I figured you're going to pay rent in some way, either mortgage or rent, anywhere you live for the rest of your life. So I just paid the mortgage and kept stashing that money for repairs and improvements, and then that eventually to get house number 2, or duplex number 2, I should say.
How long into your realtor game were you before you decided to pull the trigger on investing into property?
So it was actually the other way. To be honest, I hated realtors. This will sound crazy, but I went to Robert Kiyosaki's real estate trainings across the country. So I learned how to do commercial real estate. I learned how to do all sorts of things with leases. I learned how to do creative finance, how to, in a property, to run numbers to see if it's a good investment. So I stuck a ton of money into that, traveled all over the country, met amazing people. But I running around, and it was actually one of those things when I said I was get to zero, January 1st and be at zero. Well, the company I was working for with my first one let me go. And then I was working with another company, and I was just in the process of getting number 3, and they let me go. So I was investing with a realtor, showing me this, and he's like, "Why aren't you a realtor?" It's like, you know more than most realtors at this point. Like, literally, I open the door and you tell me what I'm seeing. So he was like, you need to become a realtor. And I was like, I don't really want to. It's going to affect my investing because now I have to disclose everything. But after a few of my friends got, I'll say, kind of screwed over by just transactional realtors where, foundation issues, the roof was shot. There's just things I was like, guys, like, why are you a $25,000 repair? Like, why'd you this place?
Yeah, it's not a light bulb going on.
Yeah, it was like, you know what? I do need to get in this field and help protect my friends, help protect my family, just because I knew that from being in the remodeling industry, from having my own rentals at that time. So I really, I guess, the protection of it. So that got me started. And then, yeah, here we are years later. So
how take you from the decision to become a realtor to actually getting your certificate or license or however that works?
About 8 months. It was show season. So I remember I was in Valley City at the winter show. I don't know if you know that giant metal barn on the north side of the highway there. But basically, I was doing these home shows, sports shows, agriculture shows for the company I was with at the time. And then I had my iPad and I was doing practice tests for about 3-4 months. And so I actually got my license, I want to say in like January, but it was nice until July when I was finally ready to jump into a commission-only sales job again.
And then you quit the previous and then started realtor.
I wish I could say quit. It was more of a, hey, we're going to cut your wage by a quarter. You have to work 25% more, and we're taking the company car. It's like, oh, you're firing me. It's just reconfiguring your job. It's like, I get the hint.
Yeah.
Adios.
So we'll go back to your background. I just want to hear, do you remember the first house you sold and what that accomplishment was? Or was it like, when you finally sold your house?
It was an interesting one. It was my former youth group leader. He had his house for sale by owner. And the realtor that got me into the industry actually was on vacation. He was like, hey, can you show my clients some houses? So I was, and they didn't like any of the ones we were looking at. And so finally, I'm like, a friend who's trying to sell their house. So took them just down the street, basically, and showed it to them. They liked it, and they ended up buying it. So it wasn't my client per se, but I still run into that family all the time. It's been fun to see because, they were just that time, and now they've got little kids and all that. But yeah, I ended up helping out 2 sets of friends at that point.
Awesome. So we got the realtor, we got the property, and now what was that pivotal moment when you're like, I need to figure something out for property management? Walk me through some of your experiences, what you didn't like, or did you just manage yours? Did you try companies? Like, just walk me kind of through that story.
Actually starts back when I was doing the home remodeling, general contracting. We do a giveaway for like $10,000 or $20,000. So these people, tenants would say like, hey, my needs, I would walk in to do an estimate, and the houses were so disgusting. Like, the windows were beyond, couldn't even wrap them. They were so bad. The kitchen cabinets were missing doors. I mean, it was just disgusting. The HVAC was barely working. I mean, there was so that I just felt bad for the tenant. And I had that experience over and over again. It's like, who the heck would property look like this? Like, that actually scarred me to the point where, as an owner, my goal is to keep all my properties market ready, meaning nothing really needs to be fixed. They can sell tomorrow. Like, that's a goal, because I was like, I don't ever want to have a tenant in that situation where they're begging a party to come fix their rental because the owner won't. Like, it's like, no, that way to invest in this game. So that was the start of it. And then I was managing my own properties because I had the network. I had the handymen, the contractors, the flooring guys, all that stuff, because we were in the mix of it. So really what happened was, as I was a realtor, and I was really the COVID years, I was selling some clients, then I'd manage for them too. And I got to the point where it was like, okay, I can either just sit down and manage my own personal properties, or go big and create a company that I would trust to put my properties in. So that is how I came to your door, actually.
Yeah. How long or how far back did you know each other from that kind of decision where you were with that? Because Basically, his brother dated my for a while, so we saw each other at Super Bowl parties, maybe a couple Christmas parties, stuff like that. So
it would be 8 years, almost 10 years prior, because I would say 2010, 2011, 2012-ish, and then we got together 2020.
yeah, right around there, 2019.
Yeah. So yeah, it was, but I mean, we had kind of lost touch, didn't know what each other were doing. Was it a home show or a chamber mixer that we ran into each other, something like that?
Yep. Yeah, we were acquaintances. We knew each other.
Yep.
We were cool. Might have had a couple beers over a Super Bowl party game and stuff like that.
Yeah, a little fireball. I mean, let's flip the script then. I mean, how about you? How'd you get in management, maintenance? Like, tell us a little about you.
Casey.
Yeah.
So growing up, I thought it was very intriguing when I had something broke. My remote control car, the tire wasn't spinning. There was always in the house, as everyone experiences nowadays. And my dad was always fixing things. So he was always, there was nothing always broke. Now, he might not have finished a lot of projects, but he definitely fixed a lot of things. So I was very of the problems of that, like understanding how and being able to figure out what was wrong with it and then make a repair on it. And then high school, I was a little unmotivated, we'll say, through high school. It really just wasn't jam. I was more into hanging out and building relationships and actually, take a rabbit hole on the schooling system, but I wasn't really a fan of memorizing something and then testing on it. But I do appreciate the school and the teachers. I do. It wasn't kind of deal. So got out of high school. I was during high school, I was working in the kitchens. So I probably worked at every chain restaurant you could ever think of as a line cook. And I look back at that and it's actually taught me a lot of things of proper order. So, you don't just mash potatoes till they're complete and then start cooking the chicken breast. There's a timing, get everything out at the same time, obviously. So I do appreciate all the stuff that taught me. I was actually going to be a culinary chef. So I went into, my mom kind of not forced me, but poked me a little bit to go to college. So I was kind of looking through BSc, had this hospitality management program. I was like, great. So I went in there and just basically taught customer service, all that stuff. So there again, stacked on top of some strategic thing. It worked out. But right before I was going to graduate, they shut the program down and I kind of got thrown from high school. So it was like this whole school thing kind of obviously wasn't my calling card. It just kept not working out for me. So I left high school or not high school. When I was finishing college, I got a job at Olive Garden as a culinary assistant. So I was kind of in a leadership role. I always liked leadership. I was intrigued by it. I like helping people and making them successful. Well, Olive Garden went through some new management. My buddy was the kitchen manager, and I was making quite a bit of money at that time. I think I was making almost 20 some bucks an hour as a line cook back in 2012, which was unheard of.
Yeah, that's very good.
So new management came in and I kind of got screwed out of jobs similar to you. Dad was working at TSS at that time. And so I went to work with them as a pavement marking and stripes on the road. And I worked there probably 7-8 years. I there again had a leadership role. I had a project management role. I had to get the job ready and all that stuff. And all of a sudden, the last two kind of felt like a ceiling. There was no advance for me. And I've always been the type of guy who just wants to continue to grow and get better. If you're not growing, you're dying. And I just felt like this was kind of dead end. So after that, I was talking with this guy from high school. We really didn't have high school, but we knew each other. Mm-hmm. And he was working at a property management company. And he's like, why don't you come, on as a maintenance technician and you can work here and whatever. So got an interview, got on with him. And I was like, this is really cool. He kind of, went boarding. And then I enjoyed solving problems for people. Looking at the work order, I felt like I was very organized with paperwork and all this stuff. And it was very neat how you just had this constant rolling script of repairs do. Yeah. And it was like, I had tools and all that stuff. So it was cool for me to like problem solve constantly. Every day it was a new issue. Well, our day would stop in the office. We'd be talking with the property manager and the leasing agent. We'd hang out for, hour or so. And then it was straight to Lowe's, and both did the little 2-man part run, which I cannot stand.
Highly efficient.
So we'd do the 2-man part run, and then we'd hang out and go shopping and goof around and mess around. Then we'd go to lunch, roll right into lunchtime. That'd be about an hour, 2 hours of lunch. And we'd head back to the office. We'd grab a couple work orders and do a work order or two. And that was the days that I was kind of under his wing. I was solo. I was actually getting work done, but when I was under his wing, and there's just this repeating pattern of, I call it chicken leadership, of just like, just no opportunity, no go light.
It was a time burner.
Yes, it was no, so I could do it better. And one day I went and fixed this lady's garbage disposal. It was a work order that had been in our queue for 2 to 3 months.
Wow.
And went up there and fixed it, and she started crying, and because she couldn't use that side of her sink. Yeah. So she started crying that she got this amenity back. And I really went out in the truck, and this was an afternoon, and I started reflecting on it, and I was like, man, I can't believe that I'm a maintenance technician for 300 doors and all the problems and issues that I'm solving. And I was like, I just know there's a need out there in the whole town that this is needed. So I sat there and was just I like management. I like being the maintenance tech. I liked all that part of it, but I really didn't like the job, right?
Yep.
And so I sat there, and all of a sudden I'm like, well, I can just so I came with this Fix It All, and the logo came to me and everything. It was just like this light bulb moment. And I was like, so I had a napkin from lunch, and I actually drew the logo out right on the napkin right there.
There you go. Napkin plan.
And I went home all excited, and I'm like, wife, I'm like, hey, I'm gonna start the whole thing. I'm gonna quit my job. I'm gonna go do this entrepreneur.
No fear at all.
And she's like, you can't. You literally do that. And I was like, why not? And she's like, well, what if it doesn't work? And I go, well, what if it does?
Yep.
And so we kind of went back, and I was like, if all else fails, the worst that's going to happen is I'm skilled, I'm a good worker, I can go get a job. So that's the worst that's going to happen.
100% the entrepreneurial journey right there.
So I started doing this thing, and just like how every entrepreneur, you have your network of people that want to support you. So, she knew a lot of people, I knew a lot of people, and I had all these leads coming in. Everything was all good. I can have a whole episode on all the things that were done wrong there.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we'll get that.
I was like, I should get a website. Out of all and everything that's on fire, I need a website. And so I went into this website place and met a guy. Started talking. I told him my plan, how I wanted to kind of do this home for homeowners, like a re-evolving space, e-com and your home. He actually had his mother was actually in a situation that needed that. So I hit a kind of a pain with him. I wanted to help maintain properties as well for property managers. So I wanted to do unit turns and maintenance, kind of a one-off maintenance deal. So I told him all this plan. I wanted to help, kind of this ideas, right? And so he had his team sit there. There's probably 5 or 6 people in the room. And when I left, they were like, we'll call you in the morning with what we think. And he called me personally. And he's like, hey, I want to go into business with you. What do you think about that? And I was like, yeah, that's cool. Thinking he had this technology. He has all this stuff that can complement me. And he had some properties as well. So I went back in the next day and we talked, and he goes, well, here's the deal. I don't want anything to do with remodeling, construction, like none of that.
Yep.
You keep this Fix-It-All thing that you have. You keep that. And then we're going to birth this property management company and home service thing. So we sat there for, this was like a half a year project, just meeting and going back and forth. And we were at the final day. We're like, okay, this is the bit. We're going to come up with the name. And we sat there and we had hundreds of names, and we put them into the Secretary of State system. We put them into website domains. We put in all this stuff, and nothing was panning out. We had like Compass, we had or something. We had all these different things. And he basically said, I really legacy because of the legacy that I'm trying to build for my children and all the stuff that I'm trying to build up. And we typed it in, and it was so anyway, we got going, and the meetings got less and less. He got really busy, and all of a sudden one day he pulled me in and he's like, "Hey man, I'm just way too busy for this. It's not that I'm quitting on you. It's just I'm too busy."
Yep.
In the meantime, I think you had met a couple times,
Yep.
had some conversations about me maybe helping with maintenance and whatever.
Yep.
So I had brought to your attention, I go, "Hey, he wants outing. Do you want to buy him out?" And really it was nothing. We were just managing a couple of his properties, and there was one that we're kind of looking over, that daycare place.
Okay. I don't
It was
know.
small, but the maintenance dude wouldn't talk to us, and so it really wasn't official.
Okay. Oh, that does ring a bell, actually.
And then, yeah, I asked you and you said yes. And, one of you're looking for a partner or you want to design a partner, it's really a marriage. So it's like, do you want to marry this person? Yes or no? It's like the vows, I do, all this stuff. And so I was like, yeah, Bill's a cool enough dude. And then it's like, the other question is like, what are they going to bring to the table that you can't do without yourself, right? And to me is like, I had the maintenance and I had all that aspect. I had the leadership, I had all that stuff. And you had the property management game, pretty much the front end. I got the front end, back end because of the cooking, the restaurant industry. I'd be like the cook, you'd be like the front end manager, all that stuff. So you said yes, and I'm out, and I guess he was born.
And here we are. All right, and you just touched on the partnership, and one of the scary parts, because it is a marriage. I mean, you're with this person sometimes more often than your own spouse. But something that's been crazy is because like I came from a world, and like for me, I was a nerd. I was a valedictorian. I went to college. I got my 2.5 degrees, and then spent more money learning real estate investing than I did on my own college, and I've spent more than that on coaches. Like it's just. However, but when I saw you, I said, I have drive and hunger. And I knew more than intelligence, more like IQ has nothing to do with success. But it's that hunger that says, no matter what, I'm getting this. But I saw in you, and I was like, that to me was more valuable than having the expertise, the millions of dollars in the bean. It would have been nice to have that too. But it was just, I saw drive, and I was like, and then what really stood out was what we wanted in property management was the same. We both thought this can be done better, and the owners will benefit, the tenants will benefit. I wasn't even thinking about vendors back then, but I mean, everyone benefits if this is right. And I'm really proud of the last 4 years is growing. The scope of what we've done. We tried all sorts of different things, had different owners, and now we're much more focused on who we're helping, how we're helping, how our core values are. I think I'm very proud of them, and I think it's different. We're not trying to be the cheapest. We're not trying to be a luxury brand. We are focused on what's important to us and our core values. So, do you want to start with?
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, and I saw the same thing in you. And really, as silly as this sounds, it was a little Scarface influence that gave me that drive. People see the drugs and the gangster movie and all this stuff, but I really looked at it and saw, a guy that started nothing to having this real life, and he had balls. He had this drive about him, insane. So that's something that kind of I took from that, and the world line as well. As silly as it sounds, but that's really kind of a background. Yeah, going back to core values, we did align. I think. I think we each other perfectly with the front end, back end type stuff, with the property management, the maintenance, like that. And core values. I think I'm a strong believer you can run a company two ways. You can run a company on rules and you have rule followers, or you can run a company on core values. And this is with yourself too. I mean, you have to have what you stand for and stuff like that. And I was really aligned, and we knew that the core values weren't just going to be some hoorah words on the wall, that some feel good like integrity or something like that. We wanted something where we could run a company through and filter our team's decision making, and something we can onboard our team members to and our owners so for that.
Actually, I think of the training we're at with Howard Lynn.
Yep.
And he's a brand. I think $25,000 if you want his team to help. But you get a discount if he's there for 2 or 3. But he made us understand that brand and your core values in a whole different light. Like, this isn't just something on the light in the dark you drive by. He's like, this is how you hire and reward based on your brand. And I never looked at it like that. So that was a really big moment at that training. And now I understand core values so much more.
Yep.
Yep.